The foxwoman who kept borrowing things just to see me. Oralia tapped twice on the synth door, her red-gold tail a blur. "Alec," she purred, "my nutrient dispenser is on the fritz again. Could I trouble you for a scoop of protein grain?" Her bright, intelligent eyes held a depth beyond the simple request, a flicker of something unspoken. Alec, holding the scoop, felt a familiar warmth spread. He knew the dispenser was likely fine. Her true request was simply him. A moment of connection in the sterile quiet of his habitat unit, a daily ritual he had come to cherish. Alec extended the scoop, the protein grain shimmering under the habitat's cool light. Orlia's delicate snout twitched as she accepted the small, reusable pouch. Her fingers, tipped with short, dark claws, brushed his. A spark, not static but something warmer, passed between them. "Thank you, Alec," she murmured, her voice a low purr. "I swear the auto-feeder system needs an upgrade. It's always something." Her tail, a vibrant plume of red gold, swished slowly behind her, a subtle counterpoint to her casual words. Alec knew her dispenser was fully functional. He had checked the colony's central diagnostic system last week, a habit born of his meticulous data analyst nature. Orlia's unit showed no irregularities. "Perhaps a maintenance check is in order," Alec suggested, though he knew it was futile. His own internal thought was a quiet amusement. He watched her, a novel feeling in his otherwise predictable existence. He rarely entertained visitors. His days revolved around data streams, anomaly detection, and the quiet satisfaction of balanced equations. Oralia was an anomaly he welcomed. She laughed, a bright melodic sound that echoed lightly in his small living space. "Oh, I'll get to it eventually. Probably after I manage to locate my missing spice grinder, or my rehydrator, or my nutrient paste reservoir." Her bright, intelligent eyes met his, a playful challenge in their depth. She was testing him, he realized, pushing the boundaries of their strange, unspoken agreement. "You seem to misplace a lot of essential equipment," Alec observed, a hint of his own dry wit surfacing. He found himself smiling, a rare occurrence outside his data terminal. "A vulpine trait, perhaps," Oralia replied, her tail swishing faster now. "Or maybe it's the sheer chaos of colony life. So many new things to learn, so many unfamiliar processes." She gestured vaguely at the synth walls of his unit. "It's all very efficient, but sometimes one forgets where one put their life." Alec considered this. Veridia Prime was still in its early stages of development, a human-led effort with several allied species, including the vulpine, contributing to its growth. The transition to a new world, even one as carefully terraformed as Veridia Prime, was taxing. He understood the sense of displacement. Yet with Oralia it felt different. Her forgetfulness was too consistent, too charmingly specific. "Is there anything else you might be needing today?" he asked, surprising himself with the question. It wasn't his usual protocol. He usually waited for her to ask, to initiate the next phase of their daily ritual. Orlia's ears, tipped with darker fur, flicked. Her smile widened. "As a matter of fact, Alec, I was just about to ask. My thermal regulator seems to be malfunctioning. My tea is always lukewarm. Do you happen to have a spare heating coil?" Alec frowned slightly. A heating coil was a more substantial request than protein grain or spice. It required actual tinkering. He knew she knew that. "I have a spare, yes. But it's not a simple swap. Requires a plasma wrench and a steady hand." "Oh, I'm quite adept with my paws," she said, holding them up, displaying their surprising dexterity. "And I'm sure your hands are steady. You strike me as a man of precision." Her gaze was unwavering, a silent invitation. He hesitated for only a moment. His routine, his quiet, both were being challenged. Both, he realized, were not as fulfilling as he once thought. "Come in," he said, stepping aside fully. "It's in the utility closet." Oralia stepped into his habitat unit for the first time, her presence instantly filling the sterile space with a warmth Alec hadn't known it lacked. Her scent, faintly spicy and earthy, replaced the generic synth cleanse. She moved with a fluid grace, her tail brushing against his leg as she passed. He felt a jolt, a pleasant current. He led her to the small utility closet. As he knelt to retrieve the coil, she peered over his shoulder. "This unit is so organized," she observed, her voice close to his ear. "Everything in its place, unlike mine." "It's efficient," Alec replied, pulling out a small toolbox. He selected the plasma wrench. "Chaos leads to inefficiency. And efficiency leads to predictability," she countered, her tone playful. "Perhaps a little chaos is healthy, Alec, keeps things interesting." He stood, turning to face her. She was closer than he expected. He could see the flecks of gold in her intelligent, amber eyes. "Is that what you're trying to introduce into my life, Aurelia? Chaos?" Her smile softened, losing a touch of its mischievous edge. "Perhaps a little intrigue, a little unexpected warmth." Her gaze dropped to his hands, then back to his eyes. "You seem like you could use it." Alec felt a blush creep up his neck. He wasn't accustomed to such directness, especially from anyone outside his professional sphere. He cleared his throat. "Well, let's see about your thermal regulator. Where is it located in your unit?" "It's just inside the main living area, near the nutrient station," she explained. "Would you, perhaps, be willing to assist with the installation? My paws are, as you noted, quite adept, but I confess I'm a novice with human standard components." There was a genuine note of vulnerability in her voice this time, a slight dip in her usual playful confidence. It was a new sound, and it resonated with Alec. He saw past the faked forgetfulness, past the borrowed items, to something deeper. A flicker of genuine need, not for a heating coil but for connection. He looked at the plasma wrench in his hand, then at her expectant face. His data streams could wait. His quiet routine felt suddenly less appealing. "Lead the way," he said, a small smile touching his lips. He followed her out of his habitat unit, the door cycling shut behind them. The corridor seemed less sterile, less empty, with her vibrant presence leading the way. The daily ritual had evolved. It was no longer just about a borrowed scoop of grain. It was about shared time, about tiny moments that built something unexpected between them on Veridia Prime. Her seemingly forgetful nature, he realized, was a carefully constructed bridge, and he was willingly walking across it. Her habitat unit was a mirror of his own in layout, yet completely different in atmosphere. Where Alec's space was minimalist, functional, and organized with clinical precision, Aurelia's held a vibrant, almost wild energy. A collection of small, intricate metallic sculptures sat on a synth shelf, catching the light. A sprawling, leafy plant with deep violet flowers climbed one wall, its tendrils artfully arranged. The air carried a faint, sweet aroma he couldn't quite place, a stark contrast to the neutral scent of his own unit. "Make yourself comfortable," Aurelia gestured to a low, plush seating pad near the nutrient station. Her red-gold tail swished gently. "The regulator is behind that access panel." Alec knelt, pulling the plasma wrench from his tool belt. The panel clicked open, revealing a tangle of conduits and thermal coils. He began to work, his movements precise, his mind focused on the task. "This plant," he said, indicating the violet climber with a nod, "I haven't seen its like on Veridia Prime. Is it a vulpine species?" "It is," she confirmed, settling onto the seating pad. Her voice was soft, devoid of its usual playful edge. "It's called a Sylvani vine. It thrives on minimal light, adapting well to colony environments. A reminder of home in a way." "Home?" Alec paused, looking over his shoulder at her. He knew the vulpine had migrated to Veridia Prime generations ago. "You mean your ancestral homeworld?" She nodded slowly. "Our people carry traditions even across the stars. The Sylvani vine symbolizes resilience, adaptation, qualities we value." She watched his hands as he meticulously disconnected a faulty coil. "You are very good with your hands, Alec, very focused." "Data analysis requires focus," he replied, turning back to the panel. He reconnected a bypass, testing the circuit. "And these components are standard, nothing too complex." "Perhaps not for you," Aurelia mused. "My people rely more on organic technologies, on intuition. less on the rigid logic of circuits. She leaned forward slightly. "Tell me, Alec, what brought you to Veridia Prime? Your skills seem suited to any colony world." Her question was direct, uncharacteristically so. Alec felt a flicker of surprise. He rarely discussed his past. "Opportunity," he stated simply, tightening a connection. "A stable environment for my work." He didn't elaborate on the quiet comfort he sought, the escape from a past that held too much noise. Orlia didn't press, but her eyes, when he glanced at her, held a knowing depth. She seemed to understand unspoken things. He finished the installation, securing the panel. "There," he announced, rising. "It should regulate perfectly now." He wiped his hands on a synth cloth. "Thank you, Alec." Her gratitude was genuine, warming his chest. "You've saved me from a chilly week." She stood, moving closer. "Would you care for a nutrient drink? I have a new blend, a sweet tang fruit infusion." Alec hesitated. His schedule, his routines. But the thought of returning to his quiet unit, now feeling emptier than before, was less appealing. That would be pleasant, he found himself saying. Over the drinks, their conversation drifted from colony politics to the peculiar habits of local fauna. Orlia spoke of her observations of human behavior on Veridia Prime, her insights sharp and often humorous. She asked about his family, a question he deflected gently, explaining they were on another world. She accepted his brevity without judgment, a quiet understanding passing between them. He found himself laughing more easily than he had in years. Her presence was a vibrant counterpoint to his ordered world. He noticed her gaze linger on him, a subtle searching in her amber eyes. He felt a connection forming, a gentle pull. In the days that followed, Orlia's visits to his unit continued, but they were different. She still came with a request, a misplaced data slate or a borrowed energy cell. But now, after he provided the item, she would stay. She would share a story, ask a question about his day, or simply sit in comfortable silence while he finished a minor task. Alec, in turn, found himself anticipating her knocks. He started leaving out small, useful items on his counter, a freshly polished data slate he knew she'd need, a specific type of nutrient bar he remembered her mentioning. He realized he was preparing for her, an unconscious act of warmth that went against his meticulously organized nature. He found a quiet satisfaction in these preparations, a new rhythm to his days. One afternoon, she arrived asking for a diagnostic tool he kept for his personal systems. He handed it to her, and she sat on his seating pad, turning the tool over in her paws. "You know, Alec," she began, her voice softer than usual, "I often wonder what it must be like to have a life so structured, so predictable. My own life has been anything but." He looked at her, truly looking. Her usual vibrant energy seemed muted, a hint of something deeper, almost melancholic in her eyes. "Predictability brings stability," he offered. "And loneliness," she countered, her gaze distant for a moment. "Sometimes the quiet is too loud." She met his eyes then, and for the first time he saw past the playful ruse, past the charming forgetfulness. He saw a profound sense of isolation, a yearning for connection that mirrored his own, hidden beneath layers of routine. Orlia wasn't forgetful, she was lonely. She was seeking, just as he was, a bridge across the sterile quiet of Veridia Prime. Her needs were not for items, but for shared time, for conversation, for the simple, profound act of human connection. The realization settled in him, a warm, gentle weight. It wasn't chaos she was introducing, but warmth, and he welcomed it. One afternoon, Orlia arrived again, her tail swishing with a familiar energy. "Alec," she began, a hint of playful exasperation in her voice. "I seem to have misplaced my datapad charger." Again. She offered a sheepish grin. Alec retrieved the charger from his supply drawer. He had started keeping one readily accessible. As he handed it to her, Orlia reached out. Her paws, usually so nimble, fumbled. A small, sleek comm device, not her usual datapad, slipped from her sash pocket. It clattered against the synth floor, activating with a soft chime. A holographic projection flickered into existence above it, displaying a complex color-coded schematic. Alec's eyes immediately focused on the projection. It wasn't a recreational feed or a standard colony map. Lines crisscrossed, highlighting energy conduits and resource distribution nodes, all converging on a central hub. Anomalies, stark red against the blue infrastructure, pulsed at various points. They indicated significant, unexplained resource diversions. His analytical mind, honed by years of sifting through data, recognized the pattern instantly. This was a blueprint of Veridia Prime's most critical resource network, and those red markers spelled trouble. Aurelia froze, her bright eyes wide with alarm. Her usual playful facade evaporated, replaced by a raw vulnerability Alec had never seen. She moved quickly, bending to snatch the device, but Alec had already processed the image. The implications hit him with the force of a physical blow. This wasn't about misplaced chargers. This was about something far more serious. Aurelia, Alec said, his voice quiet, devoid of accusation but firm. What was that? She hesitated, clutching the device to her chest. Her tale, usually so expressive, was still. Nothing, she murmured, avoiding his gaze, just a personal project. Those weren't personal project schematics, Alec countered. Those were the core resource lines of Veridia Prime. And those anomalies, they indicate massive, unauthorized energy and material drains. He stepped closer, his analytical gaze unwavering. You're not just a neighbor who forgets things, are you? Aurelia looked up, her shoulders slumping in defeat. The playful mask shattered completely. Her eyes, usually sparkling with mischief, now held a deep, troubled sadness. No, she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. I'm not. She gestured to his seating pad. Could we sit? Alec nodded, a knot forming in his stomach. He sat opposite her, waiting. My people, Aurelia began, her voice gaining strength, the Vulpine, we have a long history of stewardship, of protecting vulnerable systems, fragile ecosystems. When I came to Veridia Prime, I sensed something was wrong. A subtle imbalance beneath the surface order. She looked directly at him, her gaze intense. The colony appears stable, but I've been tracking discrepancies. Resource allocations that don't add up. Energy flows that vanish. What you saw on that device, those red markers, they are proof. Proof of what? Alec asked, his mind racing, trying to connect her forgetfulness to this revelation. Corruption, she stated plainly. A deliberate siphoning of Veridia Prime's resources. Enough to destabilize the colony if it continues. Enough to starve us if it goes unchecked. Alec felt a chill. He had always trusted the colony's systems, its meticulous data. The idea of such a systemic breach was horrifying. Why didn't you report this through official channels? Aurelia scoffed, a bitter sound. I tried. My initial queries were dismissed, then flagged. My access was subtly restricted. I realized the corruption runs deeper than simple embezzlement. It's protected. If I had continued, I would have been silenced. She paused, then added, that's why I needed you, Alec. Alec blinked me. Your habitat unit is off the main surveillance grid, a known dead zone for standard scans. Your routine is so predictable, so innocuous, it's the perfect cover. And your mind, she continued, a flicker of admiration entering her eyes, your analytical skills are unparalleled. I saw it in the way you organized your data, the precision of your repairs. I needed someone who could see the truth in the numbers, someone who wouldn't dismiss it as paranoia. Aurelia leaned forward, her voice urgent. I've been gathering data, cross-referencing public logs with my own independent scans, but I need help processing it, understanding the full scope. I need your precision, Alec, your ability to find patterns where others see only noise. Alec absorbed her words. The misplaced items, the daily visits, the slow, deliberate building of trust, it all clicked into place. She wasn't just lonely, she was desperate, using the only method she could conceive to find an ally. The warmth he felt for her was now laced with a profound respect and a terrifying sense of purpose. He was no longer just a data analyst, he was part of something vital. You're asking me to become a co-conspirator, Alec said, not as a question but a statement of fact. His life, so carefully constructed, was about to be irrevocably altered. Orlia met his gaze without flinching. "I'm asking you to help save Viridia Prime. And perhaps," she added, a softness returning to her voice, "to help me. I can't do this alone." He looked at her, truly seeing her then. Not the playful Vulpine nor the exposed investigator, but Orlia. The one who sought connection, who yearned for warmth, who now risked everything for a place she called home. His analytical mind screamed caution, but his heart, awakened by her presence, urged him forward. He saw the truth in her eyes, felt the weight of her mission. He knew with absolute certainty that he could not turn her away. "Show me," Alex said, his voice steady. "Show me everything you have." Orlia's face lit up, a brilliant flash of hope replacing her fear. A genuine smile, full of relief and gratitude, spread across her features. "Thank you, Alex," she whispered, her hand briefly touching his. "Thank you." In that moment, the sterile quiet of his habitat unit transformed. It was no longer a place of solitary routine, but a clandestine hub, a sanctuary where an unexpected alliance, forged in trust and shared purpose, had just begun. The quiet warmth they had built now had a dangerous, thrilling new dimension. Alex's fingers flew across his console, the holographic schematic of Viridia Prime's intricate resource network now projected across his main display. Orlia leaned in close, her red-gold fur brushing his arm. The proximity was a steadying presence amidst the swirling data. He began cross-referencing her hidden logs with the official colony records. The discrepancies were not merely large, they were catastrophic. "It's not just siphoning," Alex stated, his voice tight. "This pattern suggests deliberate destabilization. Look here, the atmospheric processors on the northern grid. They're running at 70% efficiency, yet the output reports show 98. And the water purification plants on the eastern continent, their intake valves are consistently restricted by 10%. This isn't about illicit trade, it's about control. Starve the system slowly, create dependency, then seize power." Orlia's intelligent eyes narrowed, a shiver running through her tail. "They're weakening the colony from within. My people suspected something deeper. The Vulpine elders spoke of a slow corruption, like rust in the pipes. But this is worse than we imagined. It affects every core system." His analytical mind connected the dots with frightening speed. If the atmospheric processors fail, even partially, Viridia Prime becomes uninhabitable within cycles. The water, the food synthesizers, they're all interconnected. This isn't about profit, it's about a hostile takeover disguised as inefficiency. "Who would do this?" Orlia whispered, her usual playful demeanor completely gone, replaced by grim resolve. "Someone with access to the highest levels of infrastructure control," Alec replied, scrolling through more data. "Someone who can manipulate reports, bypass security protocols, and perhaps even silence anyone who gets too close." His gaze flickered to her, a silent acknowledgement of her previous fears. As they delved deeper, a sudden, sharp alarm blared from Alec's secondary console, a localized security sweep. "Anomalous data patterns detected in Sector Gamma 7, a synthesized voice announced. His habitat unit was in Gamma 7. Alec froze. "They're scanning for us. We accessed a restricted subroutine when I cross-referenced the atmospheric processors. They know someone is looking." "Shut it down," Orlia urged, her voice low and urgent. "Everything now." Alec moved with a practiced speed born of years of data management. He killed the holographic display, severed the external data link, and initiated a system-wide firewall, creating a digital smokescreen. The internal hum of his unit shifted, a subtle power surge as he pushed the processors to their limit, masking their recent activity. "They'll trace the last active link," Alec explained, his fingers flying. "I'm routing a dummy signal through a series of abandoned units, making it appear as a routine system check on a derelict power conduit. It won't hold them for long, but it buys us time." Orlia watched him, impressed by his calm focus under pressure. Her own heart pounded. She was used to covert operations, but the raw speed and precision Alec demonstrated were beyond her experience. How much time? Maybe a few minutes before they realize it's a dead end, he said, his eyes still fixed on the console. Then they'll narrow the search. We need to move. Now. He deactivated the console, plunging the unit into a temporary, unsettling quiet. The absence of data glow felt heavy. We can't stay here. If they're this sensitive, they'll have physical security activated within moments. My unit is compromised too, Orlia said, her mind racing. Any connection I made would be flagged. We need somewhere else, somewhere off the grid. Alec stood, his gaze meeting hers. The shared danger forged their alliance further, hardening their resolve. He had never considered leaving his unit for anything other than a supply run, let alone under duress. But with Orlia, the impossible suddenly felt necessary. There's an old maintenance tunnel network, Alec began, recalling forgotten blueprints from his early days analyzing colony infrastructure. It runs beneath the habitat sectors, designed for emergency repairs. Most of the access points are sealed or forgotten. I know of one, beneath the main water recycling plant, rarely monitored. Lead the way, Orlia said, her hand briefly touching his arm, a silent affirmation of trust. Her touch was a spark, igniting a courage he hadn't known he possessed. His quiet life was truly over, replaced by an exhilarating, terrifying purpose. He looked at her, truly seeing the strength beneath her playful exterior, and felt a profound sense of connection. They were a team, now bound by shared secrets and a common enemy. The warmth between them, once a gentle flicker, had now become a blazing fire, ready to light their path through the approaching darkness. Alec moved with a newfound urgency, his analytical mind already mapping their escape route. He led Orlia down a narrow, dimly lit service corridor, the air growing cooler, heavier with the scent of recycled water and old metal. The sounds of Viridia Prime's bustling habitat units faded behind them, replaced by the distant thrum of unseen machinery. This way, Alec murmured, pointing to a rusted grate set low in the wall. Emergency access to the sub-level network. It's supposed to be sealed. Orlia's tail twitched, her ears swiveling, picking up faint echoes. They'll be looking for energy signatures, active data links. This is a good choice. She knelt, her slender fingers expertly prying at the corroded latches. The metal groaned, then gave way with a soft click. Alec slid through first, dropping lightly onto a narrow catwalk suspended over a dark chasm. Below, pipes crisscrossed, a labyrinth of colony infrastructure. The air was damp, cold. Orlia followed with a fluid grace, her red-gold fur catching the faint light from Alec's utility lamp. The main water recycling plant is directly above us, Alec explained, his voice low. This section is rarely accessed. The monitoring systems here are archaic, easily bypassed. He moved with purpose, activating a sequence on a forgotten maintenance panel. A small, secondary power conduit flickered to life, just enough to illuminate their path. Orlia felt a surge of admiration. Alec, the quiet data analyst, was transforming before her eyes into a resourceful leader. You know this network well, she observed, stepping carefully behind him. I analyzed infrastructure blueprints during my initial deployment, Alec replied, navigating a series of tight turns. Just data points then. Now it's our lifeline. He stopped at a junction, pointing to 3 different passages. Left leads to an old ventilation shaft. Right, a direct route to the primary waste processing. Straight, a forgotten conduit to a sub-level storage bay. That's our destination. They moved deeper, the silence broken only by their footsteps and the rhythmic drip of condensation. Alec's internal mapping skills were astonishing. He bypassed defunct sensors, redirected minor power flows to obscure their trail, and even managed to siphon a small amount of residual energy from a forgotten line to power a basic comms scanner. They're sweeping Sector Gamma 7, Alec reported, his eyes glued to the small scanner screen. moving away from our last known position. Good. He allowed himself a small breath of relief. Orlia glanced back, a flicker of concern in her intelligent eyes. For now, they'll realize their error. We need a better hideout, Alec agreed, his thoughts already racing ahead. A place to establish a secure, off-grid command center. He led her through a final, narrower passage, pushing aside a heavy, rusted door that scraped loudly on its ancient hinges. They stepped into a cavernous, forgotten chamber. It was dark, dust-laden, filled with defunct machinery and discarded parts. A thick layer of grime covered everything. This was the sub-level storage bay, a perfect, unseen sanctuary. "This is it," Alex said, his voice echoing. "We can make this work." He moved to a large, inert power coupling, his fingers already tracing its connections. "If I can reroute power from the primary waste processing conduit, we'll have enough for basic life support and our equipment." Orlia began to clear a space, pushing aside rusted crates with surprising strength. "It's cold and quiet. No one will look for us here." She looked at Alec, his face illuminated by the faint glow of his comm scanner. "How long until we can begin our work?" "A few hours to establish a stable power feed, mask our energy signature from the main grid," Alec explained, already pulling out tools from his utility belt. "Then, we need to find a way to tap into the colony network without revealing our location. A ghost in the machine." "A ghost of two," Orlia corrected, a soft smile gracing her lips. "Your mind, my agility, we are more than they expect." She watched him work, his movements precise, focused. He was brilliant. The warmth she felt for him deepened, a quiet certainty blooming in her chest. This wasn't just about survival, it was about shared purpose, a bond forged in the crucible of danger. As Alec worked, he felt Orlia's gaze, a steady, unwavering presence. He had always been alone with his data, his logic. Now he had a partner who saw beyond his quiet exterior, who trusted him with her life, with their mission. The sterile quiet of the chamber no longer felt isolating. It felt like a sanctuary, a starting point. Hours later, a small section of the chamber hummed with a low, steady power. Alec had managed to activate a salvaged terminal, its screen glowing faintly. "We're connected," he announced, turning to Orlia. "A low-bandwidth, encrypted link, routed through 3 different defunct colony server arrays. It's slow, but it's untraceable." "What now?" Orlia asked, settling beside him. The metallic taste of a nutrient bar was bland, but the shared silence was comforting. "We need to identify the key players," Alex said, his fingers flying across the console. "The data anomalies we found earlier, they pointed to a central hub, a primary command. We need to find its physical location and who controls it." He began sifting through encrypted colony communications, looking for patterns, deviations. Orlia leaned in, her gaze tracking the data stream. "The Vulpine network has whispers of a shadow council. Old families, new money. They control resources, influence decisions. I'm finding fragmented data packets, old maintenance logs for a sector that no longer officially exists," Alec observed, his brow furrowed. "Sector 17 Gamma. It's been purged from all public records, but its physical space still appears in old infrastructure schematics. It's beneath the governor's administrative complex." Orlia's eyes widened. "The governor's complex, that's heavily guarded, a ghost sector beneath it hidden." "It suggests a deeper conspiracy than we imagined," Alec confirmed, his fingers pausing. "This isn't just about resource diversion. This is about control, total and absolute." He looked at Orlia, a grim determination in his eyes. "We just found their headquarters. Our next move is clear." He brought up a holographic projection of the governor's complex, overlaying the old schematics of Sector 17 Gamma. "If we can access this hidden sector, we can expose them. But it will be dangerous. The most dangerous thing we've done yet." Orlia nodded, her hand resting briefly on his arm. "We will do it together." Her touch was a warm reassurance, a promise. They had found their path through the darkness, their alliance strengthened, their purpose refined. The next steps would be perilous, but they faced them as one. Alec activated a detailed holographic overlay of the governor's complex, focusing on the hidden Sector 17 Gamma. Its schematics flickered to life, revealing layers of hardened synth steel, reinforced blast doors, and a complex web of outdated yet robust security protocols. "This sector isn't just hidden," Alec observed, tracing a finger along a faint, almost invisible conduit on the projection. "It's designed to be a fortress within a fortress. The primary access points are sealed, integrated into the governor's main security grid." Oralia leaned closer, her tail twitching thoughtfully. The Vulpine network mentioned ghost sectors used by the old families. They always had layers. What about secondary access points, maintenance routes, waste disposal? Alec zoomed in, his brow furrowing. "There's a single, unlisted maintenance shaft. It runs adjacent to the main power conduits, marked as decommissioned decades ago. It's too narrow for standard colony transports, barely wide enough for a utility drone." "Or a Vulpine," Oralia murmured, a glint in her eyes. "It's a tight squeeze, but if the shaft is as old as you say, its internal sensors might be offline or easily bypassed." "Possibly," Alec agreed, tapping the console. "But that shaft leads directly into what appears to be a primary data vault within 17 Gamma, extremely high security. We'd be walking into their core." "Then we don't walk in blindly," Oralia countered, her gaze fixed on the projection. "We need to map their internal defenses, understand their routines. Can you establish a remote probe?" Alec nodded slowly. "A microdrone modified with a stealth matrix. It could navigate that shaft, but powering it directly from here would risk tracing. I'd need to reroute power through the sub-level grid using old, unmonitored junctions. It'll be slow, circuitous, but untraceable." He began to input commands, his fingers a blur across the interface. "The biggest risk isn't the power source. It's activating the drone near a live, high-security conduit. Any power fluctuation, even minor, could trigger an alarm." "We need to create a diversion," Oralia suggested. "Something that draws attention away from the governor's complex, but isn't directly attributable to us. Something small, isolated, and quickly dismissed as a malfunction." Alec paused, considering. A localized power surge in an abandoned sector, far enough away but still within the colony's primary grid, just enough to pull a minimal security response but not enough to trigger a full lockdown. He started modifying a dormant energy relay schematic. This could work. A temporary overload, just a flicker. "How long would that give us?" Oralia asked, watching his work. "A few minutes, maybe less," Alec replied, his focus absolute. "Just enough time to launch the drone, get it into the shaft, and disengage the external power feed before it draws too much attention. The drone would then run on its internal power cell." Oralia's hand brushed his arm again, a familiar, comforting gesture. "It's risky. What if they trace the power surge back to the sublevels?" "The sublevels are a maze of defunct systems," Alec explained, his gaze meeting hers. "We're deep enough in an unmapped section. Any trace would lead them to a dead end, a power conduit that hasn't been active in decades. They'll assume it's an isolated system failure." He returned to his work, refining the sequence. "The key is precision. Everything has to be timed perfectly." For the next few hours, they worked in a silent, synchronized rhythm. Alec mapped the complex power rerouting, setting up a series of cascading triggers to mask their activity. Oralia, utilizing her Vulpine knowledge of hidden passages and overlooked vulnerabilities, analyzed the drone's projected path through the maintenance shaft, identifying potential structural weaknesses or forgotten sensors. "There's a pressure plate here," Oralia pointed, highlighting a section of the holographic shaft. "It's part of an emergency ventilation system. If it senses anything larger than a microvermin, it could trigger a localized alert." I can modify the drone's weight distribution, reduce its pressure footprint, Alec responded, already implementing the change. It'll slow its progress, but it's safer. As the final preparations neared completion, a wave of exhaustion washed over them both. Alec stretched, his muscles protesting. The drone is ready. The power surge sequence is armed. We launch at the next shift change when security rotations are minimal and attention is diffused. Orlia nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. I'm still concerned about the data vault. Even if the drone gets inside, what can it tell us? What are we looking for? Alec turned, facing her fully. We're looking for their vulnerabilities. Access codes, network architecture, personnel logs. Anything that gives us an opening to get in ourselves or to leak their data. He paused, then added, his voice softer, and we're looking for evidence. Undeniable proof of their corruption, their plans for Viridia Prime. She met his gaze, a quiet understanding passing between them. This isn't just about data for you, is it? No, Alec admitted, a rare vulnerability in his tone. It's about Viridia Prime. It's about not letting them take what we're building here. It's about protecting it. He looked away for a moment, then back to her. And it's about you, about keeping you safe. A warmth spread through Orlia. His words, direct and earnest, resonated deeply. She reached out, her hand finding his. Their fingers intertwined, a silent pledge. And you, she whispered, about keeping you safe too. The weight of their mission, the danger ahead, felt less daunting with their hands clasped. They were more than allies. They were a true partnership, forged in shared purpose and growing affection. The drone launch was set for dawn. They would face the next peril together. Dawn broke, a faint gray light filtering through the cavern's single, high vent. Alec activated the launch sequence. The drone, sleek and silent, lifted from its cradle. Its miniaturized thrusters hummed, a barely perceptible vibration against the repurposed control panel. Entering the main ventilation conduit, Alec reported, his eyes glued to the holographic display. Orlia watched over his shoulder, her tail twitching with controlled anticipation. Minimal resistance. Pressure sensors are clear. The drone navigated the tight spaces of Viridia Prime's forgotten infrastructure. Alec guided it with practiced precision, a dance of subtle joystick movements and rapid data input. The tunnel network, his sanctuary, now served as their weapon's path. Approaching Sector 17 Gamma's outer perimeter, he announced. Security grid active. It's a standard sonic mesh, frequency modulated. Can the drone bypass it? Orlia asked, her voice low. It can, Alec confirmed, a confident edge to his tone. But it requires a precise frequency match. One miscalculation and it'll trigger an acoustic disruption. That would alert everything within a half-kilometer radius. A bead of sweat traced a path down his temple. He adjusted a dial, his fingers flying across the interface. The drone's projected path on the display flickered, then stabilized. A green indicator glowed. Through. A collective breath escaped them. The drone continued its silent journey, burrowing deeper into the heart of the conspirators' hidden complex. The display showed it nearing the data vault's access panel. Internal security is more robust, Alec murmured, analyzing the new schematics streaming in. Thermal and kinetic tripwires. This isn't a vault designed for casual entry. They're protecting something significant, Orlia observed. Something they don't want anyone to find. Alec nodded, focusing. He adjusted the drone's optical sensors, identifying the precise points of weakness in the vault's outer shell. I'm initiating a microdrill sequence. It'll be slow, but it won't register on their vibration monitors. Minutes stretched into an eternity. The drone's progress was agonizingly slow, a pixelated crawl across the screen. Finally, a small section of the vault wall peeled back, revealing the intricate wiring beneath. "We're in," Alex said, a quiet triumph in his voice. He commanded the drone to link to the vault's internal network, bypassing its primary firewall. Data transfer initiated. A stream of encrypted files began to flow across their salvaged terminal. Code scrolled rapidly, too fast for human comprehension, but the sheer volume indicated a treasure trove of information. Orlia leaned closer, her eyes scanning the data stream. "What is it showing us?" she pressed. "Financial logs, resource allocations, system schematics for Viridia Prime's central power grid," Alec rattled off, his voice quickening with excitement. "And here it is, Project Chimera." He paused, a sudden chill passing through him. It's a complete system override protocol, designed to seize control of all critical infrastructure, power, water, atmospheric regulators, everything. Orlia gasped. A complete takeover, not just siphoning but total control. "Worse," Alec corrected, his brow furrowed. "The activation sequence is already primed. It's set to go live in less than 48 hours. It's a full system lockdown, designed to starve the colony into submission." The gravity of the discovery settled heavily between them. Not just corruption, but an act of war against their own colony. The true scale of the conspiracy was horrifying. Suddenly, a red alert flashed on Alec's screen. "Movement. Internal security patrol. They've detected a fluctuation in the vault's energy signature. The drone is compromised." "Can you retrieve it?" Orlia asked, her voice sharp. "No time," Alec replied, already making a critical decision. "I'm initiating a data wipe and self-destruct sequence. We have the core files. That's what matters." A small explosion icon appeared on the screen, followed by a rapid data purge confirmation. The drone's signal vanished. They were safe for now, but the conspirators were now aware of an intrusion. "They know we're onto them," Orlia stated, her gaze meeting Alec's, "and they're moving fast." "We have the evidence," Alec said, tapping the terminal. "Proof of Project Chimera, proof of their plan to seize Viridia Prime." He looked at her, his expression grim. "But we also have a countdown, 48 hours until the colony falls." A new wave of urgency coursed through them. The initial thrill of their success was replaced by the cold reality of the ticking clock. They had won the battle for information, but the war for Viridia Prime was far from over. "What's our next move?" Orlia asked, her hand instinctively finding his across the console. Alec squeezed her hand, drawing strength from her touch. "We take this data directly to the governor, but first, we need to ensure it can't be dismissed as a fabrication. We need to corroborate it, and we need to find a way to get past their enhanced security before their lockdown takes effect." His mind raced, already formulating new strategies. The stakes had never been higher. Their alliance, forged in quiet companionship and tested by danger, now faced its ultimate challenge. They had the truth, but getting it to the right people and preventing the impending catastrophe would require every ounce of their courage and ingenuity. They had to move fast before Viridia Prime became a ghost colony. Alec and Orlia immediately began their work. "Corroboration first," Alec declared, his fingers flying across the salvaged terminal. "Project Chimera details a specific energy spike in Sector Delta 7, tied to their activation protocol. If I can cross-reference that with the public energy grid logs, even suppressed ones, we might find a match." Orlia watched him, her tail twitching with anticipation. "I'll scan for unusual traffic patterns in the governor's administrative complex. If Chimera is about to go live, there should be an increase in secure data transfers, a shift in guard rotations." They worked in a focused silence, the only sounds the soft clicks of Alec's terminal and the occasional murmur from Orlia. Hours passed. Alec delved into layers of encrypted public records, seeking the faintest ripple of the conspirators' actions. He found it, a series of micro-fluctuations, masked as system maintenance, perfectly aligning with Chimera's proposed activation sequence. It wasn't direct proof, but it was a powerful statistical corroboration. Got it, Alex said, leaning back. A pattern, too precise to be random. It confirms the timing and the method of their power seizure. Orlia looked up from her own screen, her eyes narrowed. And I've found something too. An unscheduled deployment of automated security drones around the governor's personal transport hub. It's an anomaly. They're locking down ingress points, preparing to isolate him. A cold dread settled over Alec. They're not just seizing the system. They're moving on the governor directly. They'll try to contain him or worse, replace him. We need to reach him before that lockdown is complete, Orlia said, urgency in her voice. The public terminals in the main plaza are still active. We can't go through the central access points. They'll be monitored. Alec's mind raced. The sublevel maintenance tunnels. We can loop around Sector Gamma 17, emerge near the plaza's ventilation shafts. It's a tight squeeze, but it's our only untraced path. Then we move, Orlia stated, already gathering their critical data chip. They navigated the forgotten passages, Alec leading the way with a portable scanner, Orlia's vulpine senses alert to every distant hum or tremor. The air grew thick with disused machinery and the faint scent of recycled atmosphere. They moved with practiced coordination, a silent understanding passing between them. The tunnels were dark, narrow in places, forcing them to squeeze through tight conduits. Orlia's natural agility proved invaluable, allowing her to scout ahead through smaller vents. Finally, they reached a secure access panel, cleverly disguised as a ventilation grate, beneath the main administrative plaza. Alec worked quickly, bypassing the antiquated lock. With a soft click, the grate swung open. They emerged into a quiet service corridor, only a few levels below the governor's office. "Stay low," Alec whispered, peering around the corner. "Security patrols are frequent here." They moved like shadows, using the maze of corridors and supply closets as cover. Orlia's heightened senses detected a shift in the air, the faint scent of polished synthwood and official protocols. "Governor's suite is close. I hear voices." They found a hidden entry, a rarely used emergency maintenance hatch, leading directly into a small antechamber adjacent to the governor's private office. Alec's scanner confirmed it. The governor was inside in a high-level briefing. Their chance. Alec pushed the hatch open just as a heavy thud echoed from the other side of the governor's office door. "They're already here," he breathed, realizing the unscheduled drone deployment meant more than just isolation. They burst into the antechamber. Two uniformed security officers, not Veridia Prime loyalists, were restraining Governor Thorne. His face was pale, struggling against their grip. A third figure, an unknown official with a cold, calculating gaze, stood over him. "Stop," Orlia cried, her voice echoing with unexpected authority. The figures turned, startled. The unknown official's eyes narrowed on Alec and Orlia. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" "We're here to expose your conspiracy," Alec said, stepping forward, holding up the data chip. "Project Chimera, your plan to seize Veridia Prime systems and control the colony." Governor Thorne, recognizing Alec from his data analysis reports, saw the desperation in his eyes. "Alec, what is this?" "This man and his accomplices are attempting a coup, Governor," Orlia explained, her voice steady despite the tension. "They've been siphoning resources, sabotaging systems, all to destabilize the colony and take control." The unknown official laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "Preposterous. These are baseless accusations. Apprehend them." The two security officers moved, but Alec quickly projected a holographic display from his chip. Images of the energy fluctuations, the resource diversions, the schematics of Project Chimera, all flashed before Governor Thorne. "These are your own network logs, Governor," Alec explained rapidly. "Corroborated by public data. Every anomaly, every deliberate sabotage points to this man's operation. He's been diverting critical supplies for weeks." Governor Thorne's eyes widened as he saw the undeniable evidence. This is treason. He turned to the unknown official, his voice rising. You are under arrest. The official snarled, a flicker of true malice crossing his face. You won't get away with this. My forces are already in position. Just then, the main door to the governor's office burst open. Veridia Prime's loyal security forces, alerted by the sudden energy spike from Alec's projection, poured in. They quickly disarmed the rogue officers and secured the conspirator. Relief washed over Alec and Orlia. The immediate threat was neutralized. Hours later, after frantic debriefings and securing their data, Alec and Orlia stood on a public observation deck, overlooking Veridia Prime's restored energy grid. Lights twinkled across the cityscape, a testament to their success. The conspirators were in custody, the colony secured. It's over, Orlia said, a soft smile gracing her lips. Veridia Prime is safe. Alec nodded, a sense of profound peace settling in his chest. Thanks to you, your intuition, your courage, your determination to find the truth. She turned to him, her bright eyes filled with a warmth that made his heart ache in the best way. And your brilliance, Alec, your analytical mind, your unwavering trust. I couldn't have done it without you. He reached out, taking her hand. Her fur was soft against his palm. I never thought I'd find so much purpose, so much connection in my life. You brought chaos and with it, everything good. Orlia squeezed his hand. I was lost, Alec. My misplacements were real in a way. I was misplacing myself, searching for a place to belong. You gave me that place. They stood in comfortable silence, the city lights reflecting in their eyes. The quiet ritual of protein grain, the fake needs, the shared danger, had forged something unbreakable. Orlia, once a playful enigma, was now a trusted partner, a confidant, and more. Alec, once content in his solitary routine, had found a world of adventure and affection he never knew he craved. No more broken nutrient dispensers, Alec asked, a playful glint in his eye. Orlia laughed, a joyous sound. Perhaps, but I think I've found a much better reason to visit your unit or for you to visit mine. No pretext needed. He smiled, a genuine open smile. I'd like that very much. Their hands remained clasped, a silent promise. Veridia Prime was not just a colony they had saved. It was the home where their unexpected alliance had blossomed into a profound, enduring love. The future stretched before them, not as a solitary path, but as a journey they would navigate together, side by side, forever connected.